The introduction to the UV. This is a very hard lesson to learn for a new student, so I'm going to try to take it as slow as possible here. First off, create primitives, polygon, interactive creation off. So uncheck that box. Let's make a cube. This cube has three different kind of components: edges, vertices, and faces. But there's a fourth component that you cannot manipulate within 3D space, and that is a UV. In fact, if you right click on it, you can go to UV. You can highlight a UV, but notice that you can't move, rotate, or scale it. It's a two-dimensional form on a three-dimensional object. So if you go to Window, UV Texture Editor, you can now display UVs and then you can move them around. Does it show anything in the viewport? No, because there's no texture. Now, just like before, you have these over here that you can manipulate: edges, vertices, and faces. But over here, if you went to go grab an edge, it's not going to allow you to move, rotate, or scale an edge. So here you can attach to 3D components, here 2D components. And the only 2D component right now is a UV. Alright, so what are UVs? Well, I'm going to try to explain that using Photoshop for a second. We're going to make a UV exercise together. First off, we will make a squared map in the power of 2. So new. We'll get into powers of 2 and everything else later on in texture rendering and lighting, but right now you have to know how to lay out UVs at an elementary level. So we switch over to pixels, and we're going to make a 1024 by 1024 map. Leave the resolution at 72. This is in the power of 2. And we're just going to take this and fill it with like gray. So take the fill tool, choose gray, fill it in. And then we're going to make a few dots. We're going to go to the elliptical marquee tool and hold Shift and Alt. That allows you to go like that. Alright, I'm just going to choose some random colors, and I'm going to make some dots in random locations. Again, Shift and Alt. And random sizes too. Alright, good enough. Now, let's save this out. Go Save As. And I'm going to save this as a Targa file, TGA. And I'll put it on my desktop and call it Spheres. Let's drag this into Maya. That's the only way to understand UVs. Window, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. Here's my Hypershade window, which is a really scary place at first. Only thing we want is the Texture tab and the Material tab. Browse out to where Spheres lives, which is just going into Computer and then browsing out. I can click and drag this from my hard drive over to the Texture tab. That's how you drag a texture in. We need a material to attach it to. So here's a Lambert, and the Lambert now is called Lambert 2. We can right click and rename this to Learn UVs, something like that. Could be banana sandwich, doesn't really matter. Just something other than Lambert 2. You can middle mouse button click and drag this to the ball and let go to color. So now I have a material with a texture, and that's the law of things. You can't put textures on objects, you can put materials on objects. Now you could take this sphere, middle mouse button, click and drag it over to your object. And you can see, bam, a green circle appears, and if you look around, a little bit of blue, but nothing else. Okay, let's look at what happens in the UV texture editor window. Sure enough, over here you can see that there's a green dot cut off, and there's a little bit of blue somewhere over here, because in UV land, this is cutting in right here. Okay. So if we wanted more of them to show up, we could what? Grab the UVs and move these around. Disco. But we should always stay within the 0 to 1 for right now. If we go further out, you can see that they repeat over and over. This will repeat forever this way, and it'll also repeat perpendicular to it, like this way. You just can't see it. The 0 and 1 is the most common area to keep all your UVs on. Now, if we wanted to display these little spheres on individual faces, we could just simply go like this. Create UVs, automatic mapping. So grab your object, automatic map, and now we have a breakdown of the entire sphere or cube via individual UV faces. So each one of these are called a shell, and there's going to be 6 shells. Now you can highlight a single UV, or if you want to highlight a multiple UV or a shell, you can do it like this. Control right click to shell. And W on the keyboard allows me to move that around. You can also use the UV shell tool. So click this. Now if I highlight one UV, it'll highlight the entire shell. Alright, let's say I wanted to put the green dot here. Well, if I highlight the face here, it shows me that this is the face over here. Therefore, I can have this tool on, click, and put the green dot there. Let's say this face is where I want the blue dot. Again, I highlight the face here, see that it's this shell, click, I want the blue dot. Alright. So this is all I want you to know about UVs for right now. I want you to practice moving them around and making different maybe color spheres for a little bit until you get used to the navigation between the 3D window and the 2D window. Alright, and then meet me in the next video where we can look a little bit more at UVs, but not perfectly to the point where we have mastered them just yet, because that's going to be in texture rendering and lighting. So, or modeling too. So enjoy.